Okay, hey, this is not normally how I start an episode, especially a season opener. But as I was listening back, I realized that this got kind of dark, like really dark. So, trigger warning for suicide ideation, for emotional abuse. Um, yeah, I promise you, I'm the folklore girl still. I promise you, I'm gonna read you a story at some point, or write an original story for you, or talk about, I don't know, how we can protect ourselves or make some more money. But for this episode, I'm going there, is what I'm saying. I'm gonna go there. Okay. See you on the other side. Sup Cousin, welcome to CoCo Conjure. Here we talk about all things hoodoo, folklore, and spiritual journeys. My goal is to give foundation to the novice and inspiration to the advanced practitioner. If you have not guessed already, my name is CoCo. My name is not CoCo, but you can call me CoCo. Cousin, hey, we made it to season 4. Crazy stuff, right? We're wrapping up the second year of this podcast. For all of those who sat with me at the table before, welcome back, cousin. I'm glad you're here. Glad you got your iced tea lemonade half and half. So glad you decided to pull up your chair again and join in on the discussion. For all the newcomers who joined over the summer, there is some juice and cookies in the back. There is no potluck because you cannot eat at everybody's house, especially when hoodoo is involved. So please be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment. I want to hear from you, okay? I hope everyone enjoyed the heat, the rain, the beach, and a cold movie theater this summer. The ancestors know I went outside as much as I could, okay? And I had me a good time. I'm talking late nights at a Dave & Buster's, early mornings in the arms of my new lover, and scorching days at the family barbecue while stomping my boots on the ground, okay? And though summer is probably coming to a close for all of you, at the time of this recording, I still have a few hot days and sticky nights left. I'm actually recording this on my birthday. I am 36 years old, cousin. I am entering my auntie era at full speed. And if you kept up with me over the summer, you know I have the caftans and the attitude to prove it. I even got the jiggle and the shakedown. Real talk though, at one point in my life, I honestly didn't think I would make it to see 36. For those listeners not aware, when I was 21 years old, I tried to take my own life. And I would have succeeded if it weren't for my college roommate finding me and sitting next to me in the hospital while I was like foaming at the mouth. Honestly. Ooh, okay. Sorry to get dark on you all of a sudden. But cousin, I feel like you understand me when I say our stories aren't always love and light and rainbows. We are clear, well-cut, rare-colored diamonds now, but pressure and refinement was necessary to get us here, It was necessary to get me here, at least. And this solar return of mine has me reminiscent, nostalgic, contemplative. And as far as my mind, body, spirit connection, I feel I got better at knowing who I am because as I continue to heal, I was able to grab the pen and parchment and rewrite the story I tell myself about myself. Get a hold of my inner monologue, decipher the delusions as best I can, and give myself mercy for my transgressions against myself and motivation to do better, or as my grandmother, Mother Clark, would say, to be better. Rewriting that inner monologue is a skill I'm still trying to sharpen. And as I look back through my life, I realized it was so hard for me to satiate the self-doubt gremlins in my head because external forces were feeding them after midnight. Many, many nights I would lay sleepless and lonely, wondering why I just couldn't get my life together. Why I just couldn't rebound from this silly idea that I didn't matter and the entire world would be better off if I wasn't here. And then I would get up and go through the motions of life, beating myself up for not being thinner or stronger or wittier or prettier or harder. And sometimes when the occasion allowed, for just not being meaner, less soft marshmallow. The worst part really is that those external forces fed into the self-doubt, self-pity, self-hatred that I was already harboring. And those external forces are really hard to navigate when they're so much louder than your own spirit. Like so much harder to navigate when you're already drowning. They are the two coworkers that are gossiping about you like you can't hear them. It's the boondocks stink meaner types who get their joy by stealing your joy. And what's even worse than that is that the loudest stink meaners are the ones closest to you. Growing up, I had a stink meaner in my house, paying bills, completely unescapable. If I expressed that I liked a boy, I got slapped. If I sang and danced, I was told I wasn't talented and would never amount to anything creative. If I was sitting at the table with a smile on my face, watching TV, they made it a point to come over and wipe it off my face, wipe that smile off my face with cruel words or taunts or impossible to play games. For no other reason than the fact that I had joy. I had a moment of peace and they wanted it. Taking my joy was fun for this person. And if I let them, it would still be fun for them. And when I was joyless and I felt worthless, useless, irrelevant, they told me that it was a me issue. Once, as a child, I was feeling so low that I told them I felt like a penny with a hole in it. Like the song. If you've never heard the song, I'll put it in the show notes. But yeah, I told them, full sincerity, tears running down my face, I feel like a penny with a hole in it. And they straight up laughed in my face. Not just then, but when I felt joy or I don't know, at least contentment. It was a lot of contentment, I think. They made it a point to bring up how at one time I told them that I was a penny with a hole in it. Useless, worthless. And then, we would start the mind games, the impossible to win games. And remember, this person was in my house growing up. So I was constantly walking on eggshells, constantly navigating a field of hostile and toxic landmines. And that, with my already darker thoughts, that led to the internalization of their stink meaner attitude. That led to my own darker thoughts being reinforced. That led to not allowing myself space to, grab the whiteout and rewrite whatever it is they wrote over my story, because it seemed almost impossible to do. They seemed inescapable. Fear and anxiety had me trapped in this mindset, even when I was 2 states away in college. And that led to my suicide attempt, when it looked like I still just couldn't make it on my own, because, they were right. I was talentless. I was useless. I was lazy. I would never amount to anything. And I was going to have to go back to those same hostile and toxic landmines. Okay. And if I'm being honest, even now as a fully functional adult, more spiritually enlightened and more in control of my inner monologue, the residue of that anxiety that they helped to instill in me, it still creeps its way in. Not around that person. I've essentially gone like low contact with my stink meter, but it shows itself in how I show up in other areas of my life, in how I show up in my finances, in my physical upkeep, in my relationships, because I I refuse to go back to those toxic and hostile landmines. I outright refuse. So I worry about my money, and I worry about, am I the person they said I was? I worry about upkeeping good, solid relationships around me and cutting people off before they can hurt me. My therapist called it generalized anxiety disorder. I call it spite. I think she's a little more on the money with the diagnosis, though. So yeah, the disorder stays with me like a battle scar. Not one I'm proud of, and definitely one that took me a very long time to talk about. I don't lead with it. I try not to lead with it. I try to lead joy forward as much as I can, especially now. But it's still with me like a battle scar. I was able to leave the situation I was in when I decided to rewrite my own story. And that epiphany it was a wild one. It was so wild. I was 29 years old. So I'm 36 now. I had the epiphany at 29 years old. At 29, I was still living in my childhood home, still dealing with the same stink meter, still dealing with all the same problems that led to my suicide attempt. I was drunk with my sister in Punta Cana. She was drunker than me, so I helped her shower and get in bed before I did the same for myself. So I had her all tucked away, and I was in the shower as drunk as an old black man walking around with a brown paper bag. And I told my sister, sis, I'm going to be 30 years old in 9 months, and I have absolutely nothing to show for myself. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a car. I don't have a job that brings me joy. And the job I do have doesn't even pay me enough to live on my own. And that old stink meter is about to retire, and they will have even more time to kill me with 1,000 cuts, with 1,000 mind game question, let me talk to you about something scenarios that are just impossible to win. And I cannot live like this anymore. I will not be 30 still stuck in the same spot, because if I am still stuck in the same spot when I am 30 years old, I'm going to die for real this time. That was heavy. And that was a huge epiphany for me as I slurred my words and soaped up in the shower. And my sister, I love her. I love her so much. She was drunk as hell, and she was dying laughing as I was just like spilling my truth into the universe. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all, because I was also laughing through the pain. I mean, I was crying, but I was also laughing through the pain. And I think it was a crazy scenario because I'm talking to someone who had already had that epiphany so long ago. Like, she knew all the same issues. She had all the same problems. She had all the same battle stories, right? Well, not the exact same, but similar. She had the same scars, right? She just had like 16 years in a different personality, right? And she had a crazy tight tribe that kept her outside of the childhood home for a very long time. She already knew, who she was without stink meaner's interference. And, I was drunk. She was drunk. Everything was funny. Right. But I meant what I said. And she knew I meant what I said, because she said, sis, if you say it, I know you will do it. If you say it, I know you will do it. And I said it, I couldn't live like that anymore. I couldn't live anxiously held up in my childhood room, trying not to set off traps, stagnant in my life, praying that my work schedule kept me away from my stink meaner. Praying to God for a way out as I searched for a better job or someone to teach me how to drive, and then falling further when those prayers went unheard. And honestly, I was still allowing stink meaner to co-write my story with me. The story of me being lazy and useless and not worth the trouble. And drunk off my ass on a cultural alcoholic favorite in the shower, soaped up with a giggling big sis in the bed next to me, I realized that I was sick and tired of just being sick and tired. I realized that I would not survive if I continued on the path I was on. Because frankly, I didn't survive the first time. I just was unsuccessful in my attempt to take my own life. That's how I knew I wouldn't be able to make it. That's how I knew, you know. So something had to give, something had to change. And when I was in Punta Cana, it was on a trip with my family, and Stink Meaner was there, and he was doing all the same shit, the same playbook, same let's steal joy, same how can I make sure that everyone around me is covered in my miasma, you know. And I hate this stink meaner is never going to change, or at least I can't change my stink meaner. I can only change myself. I can only rewrite my story. So that moment, drunk in the shower, trying to hold my shit together with my sister, that moment was one of the first moments that set me on this path that I'm on now. It changed everything for me. Once I was sober and back on U.S. soil, I plotted my exit and I said not a single prayer because God wasn't getting me out of this one. I had already asked years after year after year, and there was no helicopter, no boat. The water just kept rising, right? Like God was not getting me out of this one. So I got a driver's license by basically bullying my mom into teaching me how to drive because the standard was that stink meaner would teach me how to drive. And she had her very valid reasons on not wanting to teach me. She had her own anxieties, her own issues. But if stink meaner taught me how to drive, either me or stink meaner, hell, maybe even both of us, was not coming back alive. Not the new way I was, not the new person I was becoming. One of us wasn't going to come back alive. Both of us, maybe. I would have crashed a car. And my mom, you know, whenever she didn't feel comfortable with teaching me something, I had my oldest nephew teach me how to do it. The first time I got on the highway was with my oldest nephew. He's 4 years younger than me. He learned how to drive from my sister, and he taught me how to get onto a highway without having a full mental breakdown. He taught me, honestly. So between my oldest nephew and my mom, I did the first important step of freedom, right? Of getting out of my situation. Because a driver's license meant I could go anywhere. I could go somewhere. A driver's license meant that I would no longer be trapped in the landmine field anymore, right? Because I can leave. I can just get up and go. Even if all I did was get up and go to a parking lot, get up and go to a 7-Eleven and get a drink. I could go at any time without a bus schedule or enough change in my pocket. And that's what the suicide attempts were. They were an attempt to get away, to get out, to just not deal with it anymore. We don't talk about this, but a lot of times when people are suicidal, they say things like, I just want to leave. I just want to go. And at first, that literally means the ability to get a plane ticket, a bus, a Greyhound bus, the Chinatown bus, get in their car and go anywhere but where they are, to just start over. That's what that means at first. But eventually, I just want to go. I just want to leave. Turns into, there's no point in me being, period. That there's no place on this earth that I can escape my sorrow. That they're that low. It bothers me so much when people will say they're depressed, or say they're low, or say they're suicidal, and this is real, this really happened, and then the moment a situation clears up, a situation they may have gotten themselves in clears up, they're stomping their feet, praising the Lord, twerking, having a good time, laughing. Because let me tell you, if you're suicidal, if you are low, I was low. You're as low as you get. That's not something you just say. Ain't enough scripture, ain't enough money, ain't enough anything. Not enough, not one single problem being solved. Just a single small problem being solved will ever pull you out of being that low, that quick. Not that quick, not twerking, dancing, telling everybody that you were suicidal, and then 5 days later you're fine. And trust me, I know what a mask looks like, because I was a master at masking. I was low for a very, very long time before I went to college. Long before I went to college. Through college. Even when I was back at home, back in that landmine field, I could mask. I was good at it. Very good at it. It took a long time for me to talk about it. It took a long time for me to take the mask off. Hell, it took till I was 29. That's right. I was 20. I tried to take my life at 21. I was 29 years old when I was able to take the mask off. Do you understand? You don't just bounce back from that. Even now at 36, I myself, I'm in a group therapy. I was in a group therapy watching people still bouncing back from it, right? My spiritual life now is a reaction to healing myself, to seeking a healthier mind, body, spirit connection. That's what that is. You don't just bounce back from that. When you get that low, it takes a very long time to climb out. And so you don't just throw that stuff around. You don't just throw keywords for sympathy. You don't throw keywords around for sympathy. If someone says they're suicidal, I take that shit so seriously, because I remember what that was like. I'm so far away from it now. And I can still easily recall what that void felt like. I can still easily recall what it felt like standing on the precipice, staring into that void. And that, along with the generalized anxiety, is what continues to push me forward, because I absolutely refuse to go back to where I was. I will see 37, and I will see 38, and I will see 88, and I will see 98, because I refuse to go back to where I came from. Absolutely refuse. Okay, I got some water. I wipe my face. I pet Grace. I'm going to keep going. I forgot, where was I in the story? Oh, right. Okay, so I got my license, because a license meant freedom. But a license doesn't come with a car. And my mom said, you can't use mine, so you got to figure it out. So I applied for a car loan, and when I was rejected for a $3,000 car loan, I was told I shouldn't have tanked my credit and I should get a part-time job and not be so lazy. And $3K wasn't a lot and I needed to get over my problems because they obviously weren't going to help me get this, get where I needed to get. Just get a part-time job. Now, that didn't come from the stink meaner in my home. That came from the Karen at the bank, the stink meaner at the bank over the phone. And I advocated for myself for the first time ever. I advocated for myself. I wrote a letter to the bank and told them that I had an account with them since I was 9 years old. I was one of the first members to join their kids' financial literacy training program, and that my credit tanked because I tried to take my own life, and I didn't think I was going to make it to see 22, let alone at the time 29. So what does money mean when you don't think you're going to make it? Money means nothing, right? And I was still dealing with that choice, still dealing with the aftermath of my choice 7 to 8 years later, right? I told them that I was finally taking a hold of my life. And even though I did not expect them to change their mind and give me $3,000 for a car loan, $3,000 for a car loan, I did expect the person I spoke to on the phone to treat me with dignity, because that bitch, she had no clue where I came from. No clue what I was going through. No clue what that $3,000 car loan would mean to me. And that maybe her words, her telling me, her trying to write my story, her trying to tell me who I was, that I was lazy and not worth it. That could have sent me back to that precipice. That could have sent me back into that infinite void. So the least this bank could do is pull up the recorded line and retrain this nasty ass woman who spoke to me, train her to speak softer, train her to be kinder. That's all I wanted. I didn't expect them to give me anything, but that's what I put in the letter. You need to retrain this woman because she was horrendous to me. And if she's speaking that way to me, who else is she speaking to like that? And she doesn't know what people are going through. She doesn't know what that money would mean. The next day, the bank called me and told me that they did, in fact, get my letter and my email. It's not an actual letter, my email. And they did, in fact, listen back to the conversation this woman and I had. And they were going to give me the $3,000 for a car loan. That was another moment of me taking back the reins of my life, taking back the pen and writing my story. I told myself in that moment I was worth fighting for. That this stranger and on the phone telling me the same thing that the stink meaner in my house is telling me is not true. I am worth it. I am not lazy. I am doing the best I can to get as far as I can go, right? I am worth fighting for. I am worth advocating for. And because I stuck up for myself, because I told them what this person did to me and that it was unacceptable. That's it. That's all I did. I didn't expect them to give me anything. I just stuck up for myself. Because I stuck up for myself, I got what I wanted. I got what I needed. I had enough money for down payment, tags, tax, and title. I just needed more capital. I just needed $3K. That's it. And I advocated for myself and I got what I needed. Yeah. And you know what? I wrote that lesson in red ink in my book of self-knowing. I etched it into my foundations. So when my at-home stink meaner got aggressive, as I was making moves to be a better me, he didn't want me to work late because my mom would have to drive in the dark to come and get me. Or if I took the bus, I would set off the house alarms and wake everyone up. Or if I wanted to take some leftovers to work instead of spending money on lunch, that meant that it was less food for his face. And that was a problem, right? He got aggressive. He got mean. He got in my face with the impossible questions and the impossible scenarios and the can't win with me situations. And you know what I did? I got aggressive back. Sometimes I got downright disrespectful. Like, the gaslighting was there saying that I was disrespectful before, but he ain't never seen me be that disrespectful. I was disrespectful, legitimately. And when Stinkmeaner got volatile and decided to set off those hostile landmines and corner me one day, I let him know that there was no one crazier than me in that house, and I had the suicide scars and therapy bills to prove it. I wanted a ceasefire. I wanted to be soft. But if that Stinkmeaner was going to come for me, they better be prepared to deal with me. If you hit me, you better kill me. Make sure I do not get back up. I'm a sassy ass bitch now whose tongue is sharp and whose pettiness cannot be outmatched. This is the monster I have to be in order to survive. So that's the monster I'll be. And I started my witchy shit, and I got my mind and my sleep in order, and I was picking up those double and triple shifts, and I started thriving, not just surviving. 1 week before my 30th birthday, I had a car, I had a new apartment, and I had offers for better paying jobs. And to this day, my Stinkmeaner would tell you that their favorite source of stolen joy slipped through their fingers faster than sand, faster than water, faster than they could even comprehend. One day I was there. The next day I told them I was moving out. And then I was just gone. Do you have someone like that in your life, cousin? Some Stinkmeaner that's just angry at the world and unhealed from their traumas, and the only way they can experience joy is if they steal yours. They try to snatch that pen from you and write in your book of self-knowing. Do you have someone like that? For a moment, cousin, let my voice be louder. Cousin, do not let some joyless troll co-write your story. Your joy, your peace, it is precious. It is valuable. Do what you have to in order to protect it, even if it means you have to get downright disrespectful. Even if it means you have to pop smoke and leave. Even if that means you have to cut Stinkmeaner off. Do not wait for an apology. It's never going to come. And if it does come, it's too little, too late. You can mend yourself without the closure, without the apology. What you can't do is hear what your spirit needs if some Stinkmeaner is constantly yelling in your ear, telling you a false narrative about yourself. You want to know what's so trash about today's day and age? The loud external forces, the Stinkmeaners, constantly trying to tell you who you are, who you should be, is now ingrained and profitable in our social media consumption. How many times today alone have you scrolled past the nonsense of red pill incels, political extremists, so-called relationship experts, and spiritual charlatans all trying to sell you a narrative that only benefits their pockets? They simply say the craziest thing, hoping to catch your attention, so you come back to them constantly consuming them. Because when you consume them, when they hijack your truth, your narrative, they make $1 off of our misery, off of your misery. It doesn't matter if the philosophy they're selling even makes sense. Like, not all immigrants in this country, in America, are here illegally. And California is not some war-torn state that needs supervision from the federal government, right? But you scroll on Facebook and X long enough and you think it is because that's what the story being told to you is, between ads for all natural supplements and energy drinks, right? Seeking purposefully unfair relationships, romantic relationships, and imposing outdated or downright mythical gender roles upon your partner is destructive. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, it's destructive. And it's a great way to be alone forever. But these red pill guys and gals, yes, women are red pilling too, which is the wildest shit to me. But these red pill guys and gals, they are profiting off of the false narrative by selling seminars and training programs and ad spots between podcast segments. And what do we do? What do we do? We keep liking and commenting and arguing and subscribing and consuming. And when we consume, we're letting them write their message in our books of self-knowing. And the worst part is that the more you stay, the more you argue, the more you downvote, the more you consume, the more the algorithms feed it to us. If you don't believe me that it's affecting the foundations of people's spirits, look at the comment sections in those videos. Look at how it spreads into the real world. I went on Facebook dating this summer, and the profiles I came across, my God, the profiles I came across were wild. More than a few said something like, looking for a traditionally soft woman who knows her place in a man's life. Yes, I voted for Trump. Yes, you should be deported. If you don't bring me peace, I don't want you. But what do you bring to the table anyway? No, I don't care if that hurts your libtard sensibilities. You can kiss my Glock, Second Amendment, or die. And that you can find that across race, age. It's rampant, right? And I'm like, sir, this is a dating bio. Tell me you like long walks on the beach and you're into, I don't know, making your own bread or woodworking or something. Show me a photo of the biggest fish you ever catch, or you and your dog out for a hike. Like, can you share any joyous things about yourself? You know? But honestly, maybe it was a good idea that they shared that nonsense, toxic crap about themselves, because I have never swiped left so quickly in my life. You know, it's good to know what's going on in the world, and differing views from, encountering differing views from our own. That's not inherently bad. As a matter of fact, I think it's very good because it helps you to really think through your opinions, think through your foundations. But goddamn, the amount of external hatred being internalized and co-opted into the foundations of self-identity is just disheartening to watch. Basically, I'm telling you all the same things my mom told me all those years ago, before I tried to take my own life, after I tried to take my own life. And I have to admit, it took me way too long to hear what she was saying to me, because I was already looking at the void. The void had already hypnotized me. I was already too deep in my own despair. Basically, cousin, mama said, it boils down to this simple message. Yes, we sometimes have to hold each other accountable. And yes, sometimes we will compare ourselves to others just to see where we stand. These are good things. These things help us grow. But never, not ever, let some joyless stinkmeaner tell you who you are, because they're lying to you. All right, cousin. I do have some questions here, but I ain't gonna lie. I am tired. I had a great day today, honestly. I got my nails done. It's my nails and my toenails. They are the brightest yellow and green. They're so bright, especially against my skin. I'm a darker skinned lady, so my nails are so bright right now. I got a massage, and I got lunch. Like, my mom really treated me well. Even Stink Meaner donated to the cause, which is easy to do, I guess, when, like I said, there's low contact, right? So you got to try to get in when you can get in sometimes. And that was his way of trying to get in. That's fine. I don't mind taking his money and getting my massage, right? De-stressing. I feel like that's fine. But I can't read these questions. I really put myself through something just talking about this. And I've talked about my suicide attempts before, but I don't think I've talked about how I may have spiritually rebounded, but I don't think I've ever talked about like what led up to it, what I went through, what I put myself through, and what someone else put me through. I know I have talked about my deconstruction from Christianity, and all of that's happening around the same time. Right. So I went through a lot. I put myself through a lot. And on the other side of it, I know that I had cheerleaders. My sister always told me that I could make it. I could do it. I was capable. My uncles, my mother's brothers, always told me that I was smart and that I was, I can move mountains with my mind, with plotting in my mind if I wanted to. My grandmother, you're always so beautiful. You can do whatever you want to do. Like, and my mother is my biggest cheerleader. And she was right there with me, going through her own thing and pulling herself out and telling me that, don't let someone tell you who you are. You are my daughter, and you are capable and strong, and you can go far. You just have to let go of the anxiety and try to go. You have to reach. You can't let someone define you. You can't let someone write your story. And I was so low, and I was so low already, and Stink Meaner's voice was so loud already that the rest of it, between Stink Meaner and I, we drowned out any good and joyful thing that was being said to me. All hope gone, and having to relive that today, it took me out. I'm tired. So, cousin, before we get out of here, I want to let you know that you deserve the world. I don't know what your story is, but I bet you were formed under pressure just like me. The people who come before us, the people around us, they're not perfect, and we just hope and pray that they will be decent to us, right? And sometimes they just aren't. And sometimes that means we survive out of spite and not out of softness and joy. And that's okay. That's okay, because we survived. That's what counts. And I want to let you know that if you are on that precipice, if you are looking into that void, I am there with you, cousin. It is so easy to fall into. It is so easy to stay there because the hope is gone, but you are not lazy, and you are not self-destructive, and you are worth it, cousin. You are worth fighting for yourself. Do not let someone else define who you are, be they in person or online. And cousin, it may not feel like it, but if you call for your blessings, if you reach for them, you might have to advocate for yourself. You might have to reach a little further, but cousin, your blessings will come to you. Oh my God. I need a nap, and I need grace. I'll see you guys next time.